Everything began on an apparently ordinary afternoon in Los Angeles. Aaron Beltran was a well-known businessman, the owner of one of the city's largest development companies. He carried with him the reputation of being successful, disciplined, and unyielding. But there was one detail that almost no one knew. He had been raising his 9-year-old son, Leo, on his own since the mother disappeared without a trace 7 years ago. Their routine was organized, punctual, almost mechanical, until that day. You're about to witness one of the most striking stories of your life. Watch it until the end, and I assure you that your way of looking at life will never be the same. How many times have you been sure that the past was behind you? And what if a ghost returned, not as a memory, but flesh and blood, changing everything in just a second? Aaron was not prepared for what he found that day. When he went to pick up Leo at school, he was informed that the new teacher wanted to speak with the parents. When he heard the educator's name, something inside him stopped. Camila Vargas. It was the same name as the woman who had left him with no explanation years before. It was a name he had never managed to forget, but he never expected to hear it in that context. Aaron walked to room 12 as if he were in a trance. Every step down the corridor brought him closer to a past he believed he had buried. Upon entering the room, his eyes met hers. Camilla was there, wearing a navy blue dress, explaining the science project as if it were just another ordinary afternoon. But her eyes, upon seeing Aaron, said it all. There was surprise, guilt, and something more. Something he couldn't tell if it was pain or longing. Leo, oblivious to what was happening, smiled and ran toward his father, unaware that at that moment their lives were about to change forever. The school, the parents, the surrounding noises, everything disappeared. Only the two of them remained. Aaron waited for everyone to leave the room, then asked Leo to wait outside. When they were alone, the first words were curt. 7 years, Camilla, and you just appear like that. She tried to remain calm, but her voice trembled. I didn't know Leo went to school here. By the time I realized, it was too late to leave. But Aaron was not convinced. 7 years, and not a single explanation. You ran away. With eyes full of tears, Camilla replied, Aaron, there are so many things you don't know. I never wanted to leave. I was forced to. Aaron no longer wanted any more excuses. The pain he felt seeing Camilla there, so close yet so distant at the same time, was indescribable. Do you know how many times Leo asked me why you left? He said, his voice choked. Camilla lowered her eyes. I know. And each one of those questions broke me too. Before they could continue, Leo appeared at the door with his cell phone in hand. Dad, Aunt Carla is calling you. Aaron took a deep breath, looked at Camilla one last time and said, this isn't over, and if you really care about Leo, you'll have to prove it. That night, Aaron could barely sleep. He replayed everything Camilla had said and what she had left unsaid. Carla, his current girlfriend and business partner, sensed something different. Did something happen? She asked. He preferred not to tell her. Not yet. He needed proof, clarity, and deep down, he knew that something was about to come to light. When he opened his notebook and reviewed old contracts, he found forgotten documents from the Palm Springs project, the very one that had catapulted his career. And it was there that the first pieces began to fall into place in a frightening manner. The next day, a message from an unknown number arrived on his phone. I need to tell you the truth. For Leo. Tomorrow, 7 a.m., Cafe Leona. See. Aaron hesitated for a moment, but deep down he knew he had to go. At the cafe, Camilla was waiting, her eyes tired and an envelope in her hands. You need to know what happened and why I left. She recounted the threats she had received about a man named Montalvo, an old investor of Aaron's who had used his name in money laundering schemes. He said he'd destroy your life, and Leo's too. Aaron listened in silence. She handed over evidence, emails, bank statements, photographs, and amidst it all, one name stood out: Carla. The very Carla who had been by his side all those years, the very one who claimed to protect him from everything. Camilla insisted that Carla knew everything, that she had been part of the schemes, that she had helped silence the truth. "You think she helped me because she loved you?" Camilla asked. "She needed you clean and alone." Aaron left the cafe with a hollow feeling in his chest. For the first time, everything seemed confusing, but he knew he couldn't continue ignoring what was right in front of his eyes. Returning home, Aaron resolved to investigate. He spent the night reviewing contracts, cross-checking dates, analyzing signatures. And there it was. Carla had signed documents linked to shell companies, names of figureheads, incoherent amounts, clauses he never authorized. It was as if she had used his trust to build a web that ensnared him from all sides. Deep down, he knew something was always off, but he had chosen not to see it. Now there was no denying it. Camilla was right. He had been manipulated. And more than that, he had been used as a shield to cover up crimes he would never have agreed to participate in. The next day, Aaron went to the office with the documents in hand. Carla noticed his tense expression and tried to preempt him. "We need to talk," she said, unaware that the storm had already begun. Aaron didn't reply. He went straight into the conference room, gathered the company's executives, and laid everything out. With cold clarity, he revealed the connection between the suspicious contracts, Montalvo and Carla. "For years, we trusted people who used our structure to launder money. As of today, that ends." The ensuing silence was heavy. Carla tried to defend herself, but her mask was beginning to fall. "You don't understand, Aaron," she said, visibly shaken. "I did what had to be done to protect you, to keep everything running." But he refused to listen. "You deceived me. You used my son's name on documents, and you even had the nerve to say you were helping me." Carla got up and left without another word. He knew that the battle was just beginning, yet, for the first time, he was ready to face the consequences, not for revenge, but for the truth, and most importantly, for Leo. Later that day, Aaron went to pick up Leo at school. He saw the boy smiling beside Camilla, proudly showing off his science project. "Plants help each other even if they don't see one another. Like family," he exclaimed. Aaron smiled, moved by the simplicity of the lesson that had taken him years to understand. Camilla approached. "He's happy, Aaron, and so am I, for being near you too." He nodded. "He will know who you are, but at the right time. It was time to start over, to rebuild, to heal, and to allow love, even when broken, to bloom once more." The following Saturday, the school's science fair brought together dozens of parents and students in the gym, decorated with colorful posters and makeshift tables. Leo, dressed in a white lab coat, presented his project with enthusiasm. "Roots communicate in the dark, even if they can't see each other, and they help one another," he explained with a sparkle in his eyes. Camilla and Aaron watched from a distance, side by side. It was almost surreal to see that moment unfold. After everything, here they were, sharing the same space, cheering for the same smile. And everything felt right, natural, as if time had paused just to allow that moment. When the judges announced the winners, Leo received the medal for Best Scientific Explanation. He ran to his father and his mother, embracing them both tightly. "Can we go out and celebrate?" he asked. Aaron hesitated for a second, then replied with a smile, "Of course." They went together to the very restaurant where he and Camilla had had their first date years ago. Innocently, Leo began to ask more direct questions. "Dad, why do you and Ms. Vargas look at each other as if you're part of the same story?" Aaron exchanged a look with Camilla and knew the moment had come. Taking a deep breath, Camilla said, "Leo, I am your mom." The boy fell silent, looking from one to the other. "Really? Are you really my mom?" She nodded, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Yes, my love. I never wanted to be apart from you." Leo didn't cry, he didn't shout. He simply rested his head on her shoulder and stayed there, as if something had finally found its rightful place. Aaron watched in silence. It was difficult to put into words everything he felt at that moment. It was like witnessing an old wound closing, and for the first time, without leaving pain behind. In the days that followed, Aaron and Camilla began to speak more frequently, not as a couple but as parents, trying to rebuild something for their son. Leo, now aware of who she really was, seemed happier, more complete. He planted seeds in the backyard, helped Camilla water the plants, and asked about the past. Aaron knew there was still a lot left to say, but now they were ready, and most importantly, they were together. A true family, imperfect yet genuine, and that was more than he had dreamed of in the last 7 years. In time, Leo began asking deeper questions. "Why did you leave, Mom?" he asked one night while the three were having dinner together. Camilla took a deep breath, looked at Aaron, who nodded subtly, and began, "Someone very dangerous threatened to hurt both of you. I had to vanish for a while to protect you." Leo frowned. "But why didn't anyone call the police?" Aaron answered calmly, "Sometimes we can't prove everything, and when it comes to protecting the ones we love, we do whatever it takes." Leo fell silent for a few seconds, then said, "So, you really do love me, right?" Camilla smiled, moved. "More than anything." Aaron continued gathering documents and evidence. Now, with legal backing, he had initiated a lawsuit against Carla, demanding a full audit of the company's transactions. The prosecutor he spoke with assured him that the evidence was strong enough to launch a formal investigation. But the price would be high. Carla was no ordinary person. She had contacts, influence, and knew how to manipulate the system. Behind the scenes, she tried to discredit Aaron by spreading rumors about his emotional stability, but he was prepared. For the first time in years, he was ready to fight with the right weapons. One evening, while reviewing the latest files, Aaron received an anonymous message. "We know you are reopening the case. Be careful. Some roots, when exposed, rot everything around them." It was a clear threat. But instead of feeling fear, he felt determination. He knew he was dealing with powerful people, but he also knew he couldn't back down. "I'm no longer afraid of the truth," he replied before turning off his phone and heading to Leo's room. There he found his son sleeping with a science book in his hands and a small pot with freshly planted sprouts beside the bed. As he watched his son, Aaron understood that this entire struggle wasn't just about business or revenge. It was about ensuring that Leo grew up knowing who he was, where he came from, and who he could count on. It was about teaching him through actions what it truly means to be strong. It wasn't about hiding wounds, but about learning to live with them and still moving forward. And there, in that humble room surrounded by silence, Aaron made a promise to himself. He would do whatever it took to protect what really mattered: his family, his truth, his peace. The investigation against Carla gained momentum in the following weeks. Former business partners began to cooperate. Old contracts were questioned, and Aaron's name started to shed the initial accusations. The media, which until then had treated the case as a possible internal scandal within the company, now highlighted his courage in exposing corruption, even if it affected his own reputation. Aaron preferred to keep his focus on Leo, but he couldn't deny it. He was living the greatest turning point of his life. And it all began at the moment he decided to stop running from the truth. For her part, Camilla was naturally reintegrated into Leo's school life. The other teachers respected her, and the students admired her. Leo now said proudly, "My mom is the best teacher in the world." Aaron observed everything with a sense of surprise. He never imagined he would see that scene become a reality, and even without formalizing anything between them, he began to feel something different toward Camilla. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was respect. It was a new kind of love, one built with more maturity, greater awareness, and above all, more truth. One Sunday, while they were tending together to the small garden Leo had created in the backyard, Aaron found himself watching them both. Camilla was teaching her son to trim the plants carefully. If you cut too much, it hurts them, but if you cut nothing, they won't grow properly. Aaron smiled at the metaphor. It was exactly what they were experiencing. They had cut ties, hurt each other, but now they were pruning the past so that something new could flourish. "Everything all right there?" Camilla asked. "Yes, it is," he replied. "I think, for the first time in years, it really is." That night, after Leo fell asleep, Aaron and Camilla sat together on the porch in silence. They looked up at the dark Los Angeles sky and allowed themselves to breathe. "Do you think we can really do it?" she asked. "Rebuild everything?" Aaron replied calmly, "Not everything, but enough to make it worthwhile." Camilla rested her head on his shoulder. Neither of them needed promises at that moment. What they had was more valuable: presence, truth, and intention. Three things that years ago they hadn't known how to offer one another. Now they were ready to try. Over time, Camilla became more involved in the small routines. She took Leo to school, helped him with his homework, and participated in school games. Aaron observed this new phase cautiously. There were still wounds, but he no longer felt anger. He felt relief, seeing his son smile and the peace that now filled his home. He understood that some things truly cannot return to the way they were. And that's okay. What mattered was what they were building now. A new family, a new way of being together, with greater awareness and less haste. The company underwent a major restructuring. Aaron fired everyone involved in the irregular contracts and reformed the board. He began working with more purpose and less ego. For the first time in years, he felt that he was doing something for a reason that truly mattered. Not to impress investors, but to leave a genuine legacy for Leo. In a meeting with shareholders, he was straightforward. To err is human. Hiding the mistake is what destroys. I have erred, but I chose to fix it. If you want someone perfect, look for another CEO. In the end, he received applause, not for being untouchable, but for being honest. At home, Leo began to write a diary. Camilla had given him a notebook and suggested that he record everything he felt. One day, Aaron found a loose sheet with the phrase, "My family is like a plant that almost died, but is now growing again." He kept that paper as a treasure. It was proof that despite everything, they were on the right path. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it heals. And Aaron knew that deep down, every choice, every sacrifice, every step they had taken since that reunion had been worth it. One afternoon, while Leo was watering the backyard plants, he asked, "Dad, do you still love Mom?" Aaron looked at Camilla, who was on the porch reading a book. He thought for a few seconds and replied, "Yes, I do, in a new way, a way that has learned to forgive." Leo smiled. "So, we're going to be together forever?" Aaron knelt down beside him. We already are, son. And that's what matters. Because in the end, rebuilding isn't about returning to what once was. It's about creating something new with the pieces that remain. And that, Aaron understood, was the most beautiful way to start. Over? Months later, with the investigation well underway and life finally getting back on track, Aaron took Leo and Camilla to visit a secluded lot he had discreetly purchased. It was an open space, full of trees and silence. "This will be our next project," he said. "Not a building, a community center, a place where single dads and mothers who have started over on their own can find support." Camilla was moved. Leo ran through the open field, laughing heartily. Aaron smiled, watching him. He had weathered so many storms, yet his spirit remained light, and that was all that mattered. As they watched the sunset together, Camilla took Aaron's hand. "Thank you for letting me come back." He replied without looking at her, "You never really left. You were only away for a while." It wasn't an idealized, happy ending. It was real. It was human. They knew challenges still lay ahead. But now they were on the same side. Aaron looked at Leo and said, "The truth, even when it's hard, is always worth it." Daily quote: "Sometimes rebuilding isn't about restoring what fell, but planting something new in the right place." If you were touched by this story, subscribe to the channel because this story will continue. Activate notifications, leave your like, and comment which city you're watching from. Your participation helps us keep telling stories that touch the heart.